Hi there, my name is David Sherwood, and this is my presentation on my Capstone project, Enhancing Volunteer Accountability, Strategies for Volunteer Staff in Nonprofit Accounting. Nonprofits are a crucial part to communities, but the mishandling of funds can damage their reputation and also cause legal and financial issues for these types of organizations. Two examples of the mishandling of funds include the American Red Cross notoriously mishandling the funds in relief efforts such as Hurricane Katrina. There was a reduction of sympathies for victims based off of their mishandling of funds. And the Wounded Warrior Project used donations for personal benefit with $150,000 of cash, gift cards, merchandise, and in-kind donations, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, being used for personal benefits of the members of the organization. Mishandling funds affect future investments and relief efforts for both of these types of organizations. Nonprofit accounting focuses on demonstrating fund effectiveness for organizational goals. The second issue that nonprofits face is in their complexity when it comes to their financial statements and recording of financial activities. The Financial Accounting Standard Boards, FASB, set specific rules for nonprofit accounting aligning with the generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. These financial statements help shareholders evaluate donations effectiveness, but there are also additional rules, including state-specific rules. In New York and California, for example, have detailed reporting requirements when it comes to nonprofit organizations. During my research, the two main issues when it comes to nonprofit accounting that I found during the research for this topic, first being the difference between nonprofit and for-profit accounting. Nonprofit struggle to acquire funds compared to their for-profit businesses, relying on donations, and as a result, the FASB has adopted modified ways of accounting for nonprofit financial statements. These modifications affect reporting, restricted funds showing expenses by function and nature, presenting investment returns, handling operating measures, and reporting liquidity information for the organization. As a result of these modifications, there have been many suggestions to align nonprofit accounting terminology with that of for-profit accounting over the years. Some of these suggest changes that would affect the terms like unrestricted, temporary, temporarily restricted, and permanently restricted. These terms could have been changed to more clearly represent the nature of the accounts, such as general reserves, special purpose reserves, and perpetual endowment reserves, according to Aronoff. The second key issue I found in my research is a lack of clear education and research on nonprofit accounting. Nonprofit accounting is part of advanced accounting education, which is less emphasized compared to its for-profit counterparts. As a result, there is a limited formal education of nonprofit accounting, which leads to a lack of specialized knowledge in this field. Because most business schools are funded by taxpayers, there are a disproportionate number of educational resources spent on funding for-profit research. Thus, more business schools tend to focus more on for-profit research, creating a lack of nonprofit research. Technical language in nonprofits, as mentioned in my previous point, has also created an impact on academic and practitioners in the nonprofit sector. The use of staff volunteer, or SV, creates confusion, only adding to the complexity of the nonprofit accounting structure. The lack of education for these SVs and resources outside of formal education can create a breakdown in the integrity of the institutions, as I explained in the example with the Wounded Warrior and Red Cross. Three of the proposed solutions that I found during my research include the following: hiring specialized accountants, using accounting software, make and making nonprofit accounting language more accessible. However, two of these points have major drawbacks. One, the additional cost that is recommended for most nonprofits to hire a specialized accountant can range between 600 to 1,500 monthly for a nonprofit organization that makes less than $500,000 in revenue. The second main drawback when it comes to hiring externally is a lack of knowledge about the organization's functions requiring more time for these specialized accountants to take in order to understand the organization and how it operates. Some of the major drawbacks when it comes to using software in accounting is that the artificial intelligence, or AI, cannot understand the context and nuances of what the information they are being presented with. New laws and regulations usually require some sort of human interpretation for these laws, as well as the nonprofit statuses, conditions, and operational expectations are not easily determined by AI. As a result of the research that I conducted, my proposed solutions includes a three-pronged attack for nonprofit organizations. First, in educating their current staff on common areas of misstatements when it comes to nonprofit organizations. The second being a use of tailored software for nonprofit accounting specifically. And thirdly, implementing an organizational system for internal controls, whether that be a chief financial officer or a board member that is responsible for ensuring that the books are helped and maintained correctly. When it comes to educating the staff, training materials, or hiring a consultant temporarily to provide the necessary information to your volunteer staff is recommended. Selecting staff with any accounting or bookkeeping background is also highly recommended. And establishing procedures for any uneducated volunteer staff that may come in the future would need to be set into place. Benefits of nonprofit software are going to help the organization in their financial statements. It'll also help to streamline any processes and improve accuracy when it comes to decision making. Automated bills and donation filing processes are also available for a lot of these nonprofit software, which can help to ensure that they are filed correctly and handled appropriately. Ensuring that there is also transparency in the organization cash flow records can also be accomplished through the use of these types of software. The importance of fund accounts when it comes to communicating restrictions and limitations is going to be a major point of contention when it comes to nonprofit accounting, as well as ensuring that the proper funds are going through with some sort of human oversight when it comes to the use of these funds. This is why setting up a series of internal controls, whether it be quarterly or monthly testing by an unbiased individual, either within the organization or through a third party, and segregation of duties to avoid any conflicts of interest in these nonprofit organizations is going to be vitally important. Budgeting for specialized accounting reviews is also going to be necessary for setting up the infrastructure for all of these systems. When it comes to the implementation of this three-pronged attack, there are a couple key things for any organization to keep in mind when implementing any one of these three options for their organization. When it comes to budgeting, there are different types of software. Three of the softwares that I looked at during my research include AdmiSoft Accounting, ZipBooks, MoneyMinder. AdmiSoft was a software that I looked at for larger nonprofits, and MoneyMinder for managing volunteers, donations, and membership programs. If there is a nonprofit organization that utilizes either of those two categories, those would be the ones that would be recommended. When it comes to the software costs, though, between those two, there's a drastic difference. MoneyMinder has a $299 per year subscription fee, whereas AdmiSoft can vary in price based on the utility and options that the organization wishes to take on. The full purchase price is usually around $6,000, which may not be accessible for many nonprofit organizations. Education through software tutorials and guided notes are also provided through a lot of these different software um, companies. When it comes to segregation of duties, the more important challenges are for smaller nonprofits due to conflicts of interest, as many of these organizations are a very small, tight-knit community. The use of board of directors or third-party reviewers for evaluation will also be harder for these types of organizations to implement and effectively be unbiased in. When it comes to maintaining the IT infrastructure, there are a couple different ways that they can go about doing this. One could be that they hire an IT specialist to assist the accountants when it comes to evaluating the effectiveness of the software based off of their organizational needs. Another is going to be the security when it comes to authorization of software being used in these nonprofit organizations, as there's always a risk of cybersecurity threats when utilizing any sort of software or financial data is involved. Protocols and procedures for oversight on all of these types of systems will be needed to be put in place in order to ensure the safety and security of any financial information being processed through these nonprofit organizations. In conclusion, when it comes to nonprofit organizations, because of their high use of volunteer staff, when it comes to accounting and bookkeeping for these types of organization, it's important that the staff is trained on common areas of misstatements, and there are easy guided notes or tutorials for these staff members to utilize in order to ensure the integrity of these nonprofit organizations. When it comes to the software that these nonprofit organizations would like to use, it is important for them to focus on streamlining the process and improving the accuracy of their accounting system, as well as evaluating the software options based on their needs. Um, in order to make sure that the software is operating correctly and safely, they will need to maintain security and oversight with a IT specialist to support their organization's needs. It is also important that the software be tailored specifically for the organization and for the necessary needs of the organization. Lastly, any organization, including nonprofits, but especially nonprofits that utilize a lot of volunteer staff for their accounting needs to have regular testing and segregation of duties when it comes to the nonprofit financial statements. This will keep them out of hot water, both legally and financially speaking, as well as making sure that there is a necessary budget for specialized accounting reviews of these organizations. And this is the list of my resources that I used for this presentation. Thank you for your time.